Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. Tisha here, back for another recap of Paradise. This is season 2, episode 2, Mayday. I feel like I got really irritated by watching this episode. So if I get to ranting, pardon me. Xavier, I need you to shut your mouth. I need you to stop making it be known where you're coming from. Why are you telling everyone that you come into contact with about this daggone bunker? They don't need to know. Mums needs to be the word. You don't know what these people are capable of, so you should be quiet because your children are still there. You need to stay silent, make yourself look rougher than you look, which by the time this episode is done, you look pretty rough to me. But make yourself look rougher than you look and come up with another story. Annie, Miss Girl, who do you think you are? Not you over here just thinking about yourself. Well, you know what? I can't say that she's just thinking about herself because we know she has a baby now. So maybe this is about the baby as well. But I got really annoyed with Annie at the end because your opportunity to go to Colorado was when Link asked you to go there. But you sat there confined in a room like if you opened the door that they would have forced you out. You were sitting there like a big old scaredy cat. Your chance to live that life was when he offered to bring you out there, not when Xavier has already went through all of this stuff just to get to his wife and back to his kids for you to officially throw a wrench in it. I don't like you. Now y'all let me know what you guys think, but I do not like Annie now. I take everything positive I said about that girl back because the end of this episode just really aggravated me. Now, things that I noticed that I want to make sure I do not forget. What's up with these nosebleeds, you guys? What's up with these nosebleeds and these blackouts that keep on happening to Xavier? This stuff wasn't happening to him. I got to calm down because I'm talking over. This stuff wasn't happening to him in the bunker. So why is he experiencing some of the same stuff that we saw Link experience? Also, why do they keep on showing us Link throughout the episode like Xavier is having visions of him or something? I don't quite understand it. But do me a favor, make sure we don't put any spoilers in the comment section below. As of right now, the only thing you should be commenting on or revealing is things that have happened in episode 1 and episode 2, because we don't want to ruin it for the people who haven't seen it, and we definitely don't want to ruin it for me. But let's go ahead and get back into this episode. This man, when I say he is acting, he is acting. Anyways, so the episode begins where I kind of expected the first episode of the season to begin, which is where season 1 left off. But this time, the episode is beginning with Xavier, and Xavier's plane has crashed. He is semi unconscious and waking back up, and he is dangling in the plane from a tree. We then see him as he comes back to consciousness and recalls what happened. So we see him as he's mid flight, determined to find his wife, Terry. As he's flying, right, he is struggling, you guys. He is struggling to see through all of the stuff that's coming his way. It's a storm and it begins to hail, and his readings aren't acting right. And he's saying a bunch of things as he's flying over the radio. This is when we see something similar to what we saw with Link when he was standing at that door trying to knock in and let Annie get Annie to come out, where he kind of like gets dizzy and has a vision, um And it's similar to what Link had going on. And I notice that after the vision is over with, his nose is bleeding, which is the same thing that happened to Link, because we remember that the guy brought him a tissue and told him to hold it. Like, what is going on with this? After he comes to, or the vision ends, in the middle of the vision, we see Link walking, and we see Xavier following behind him. Is this a foreshadowing of some type? Like, is this showing us what's to come? Because we know that Link is heading for the bunker. It's not making sense to me. And Xavier looks a little bit more different. Like, he has more hair on his head. He actually looks better in that image, but who am I to judge? Um, so as I said, his nose is bleeding. His engines on the plane go out, and he starts talking on the radio about his wife Terry, and how her last known location was in Atlanta, and how his kids are safe because they're in a bunker in Colorado. And then he proceeds to give coordinates saying near 39 degrees north and 105 degrees west. Sir, I get that you think that you are going down with the plane, but I don't think that you should be revealing all this information. Like, they don't need to know all of this stuff, because you don't know who's going to intercept this. I get that maybe you want to make sure that Terry gets this message in case something happens to you, because it's very clear that he thinks that he's about to pass. But my goodness. So he's like, tell Terry, James, and I think, is her name Presley? I forgot her name that quick. That, that I love them. And I'm just like, oh man, come on now. You done told all the business. Now they really gonna know where to find your kids. Are they really as safe as we're hoping they are? So he's saying Mayday, and then he loses control of the plane, and it slams into the tree. Now Xavier survives, but as he pulls himself out of the broken plane, he slips, you guys, and his knee hits, excuse me, against materials in the plane, and he either dislocates, I think he just dislocates it. He dislocates his knee. We find out that this isn't the first time that something like this happened, because we get a flashback of 2004, the Secret Service Training Center. And while at the Service Training Center, Xavier is in line to beat like the highest record of completing like the training and the course and stuff. And we see him as he's training, and he's doing maneuvers, and then we see that he messes up his knee. So he ends up going to the doctor, and as the doctor, y'all see the knee, is looking at his knee, he's like, it's dislocated amongst other things, like this may require surgery, we're gonna have to look into this, whatever. So we see him flashing back to 2004 and to current. And as he's flashing back and forth, he is remembering what he was told, because he knows that he is going to have to force that kneecap back into place. So you hear him talking about something like, yeah, I got to wait for the click and this and this. Like, you hear the doctor telling him what is expected, and he's grabbing the rope and he's preparing himself to fix this, right? To get this thing going. And he is bracing himself for the pain. And just as he is about to yank that rope that he's tied around his leg, a young boy appears and covers his mouth. Y'all, I'm not gonna lie. I gasped because I wasn't expecting for this, and I didn't know what was going on, but I gasped. So he's covering his mouth and telling him, because he doesn't want him to make any noise, because the plane alone has made some noise. And what we find out later on is that they're in a bad place. They're in the very place that Link had told Annie to be careful of. So Xavier is sitting there as the boy helps himself to Xavier's things, because he's rummaging through his bag. He's tossing his books and stuff and his map. And Xavier is smart enough to grab what Cal had given him and hide it as this young man's back is turned and he's rummaging through his things. Now the boy is trying to see, excuse me, what he can take. And he sees pictures of his wife and he sees picture of his kids. And then there is a group that is approaching. So the young man runs, and we see as Xavier tries to get up, he can't walk, and then he does like the army crawl to try to hide. The young man comes back, and when he appears, he has a thick old walking stick for Xavier to use. So they escape and they lay down flat, hiding under a rock as these guys are rummaging through the things, and they get some goods. What makes me nervous is I think some of the things that they got was probably like pow pows and stuff like that. But yeah, so they get the stuff and they walk away. And Xavier, well, I don't think they got everything because the young man had something too. But Xavier is led to the little boy to this area. This is a hidden yacht that is one of many places where the kid is. What we find out later on is it's not just this young man in this yacht, but there are multiple children living in here. Xavier wanted to see what it was like to live outside of the bunker. And this is him getting to see what it's like outside of the bunker because it becomes clear very quickly to me. Let me make it bigger because as dark as it is, it becomes clear very quickly to me that this is not what Xavier expected. I don't think that he thought that he was going to see this because there are a bunch of kids standing in front of him, and you can tell that these kids have been surviving while Xavier and his children have been thriving. They're clearly in different worlds. And it's just yet another look of how different it is for the various people as they go through this experience. So we flash back to 2004 when Xavier is recovering from his surgery in the hospital, and he is needy as hell. Like, we're going to call a thing a thing. The man is needy as hell, even making recommendations or preferences, letting it be known what he likes. Like, he doesn't like the red jello because that's all he got when he was sick one time, and ever since then he can't really stand red jello. He would prefer to get the green one, and yada yada yo. And the nurse may not be able to get him what he wants, but she's gonna go look. But in the meantime, his roommate can, because lime jello is tossed over the curtain from the bed that is next to him. Now he uses his crutch to pull the curtain back, and that is when we meet his lovely roommate, Terry. He is immediately taken with her, but she isn't taken with him. Now, he's supposed to be getting discharged soon, but he lies about the pain so that he can stay in the hospital, excuse me, a little longer. And the nurse lets him know that he doesn't have a chance. So they talk, and he finds out that she is there to have scoliosis surgery. Um, that she has been suffering for a long time with lifelong back pain. And after this surgery, she's not supposed to have it anymore. So he says, after you heal, maybe we can grab some coffee. And she's like, oh, what is that supposed to be? Like a date? It's supposed to be a date. And she isn't trying to go out on a date. She makes it clear that she has plans. Her first plan is to get her PhD, which she's working on currently as she studies in the hospital. Her next plan is to move to Brazil and change the world with her dream job. And that type of life doesn't include marriage or children. And she's not about to let a guy, even a handsome one, derail her plans. To Xavier, this just sounds like a challenge. So we jump back to the present. Xavier is surrounded by the kids, and he pleads with them to stop going through his belongings. It looks like they're having a whole bartering thing going on at this table as they pick and choose what out of the bag they want. Now, they're not saying anything, but they're pointing to things and they're making faces. And he's like, look, you guys can have all the food that you want, but I need my things. And no one is talking, but it's clear that they have their own way of doing things. So he tells them, like, look, I got to fix my knee, but it's going to be loud and I'm going to probably pass out. So Daniel, who I'm calling him Daniel because that's what we later learn his name is, the leader, is so smart that he knows, like, you can't make a whole bunch of noise because we don't want people to discover where we are. He doesn't say that, but he looks at him and he says, like, covers his mouth. And he's hearing like the boom, the thunder coming in. He knows the lightning flash, and then he's counting, I guess, in his mind for the thunder. So as he prepares him, he does a 3, 2, 1. So he knows when he can go to pull the leg. That way, when he yells, it it gets muffled by the sounds of the thunder. So you hear the big boom as Xavier screams, and then he passes out. I said, these kids have really adapted. Now his knee is back in place, but the man is knocked out. So we jump back to the past again, and we see Xavier lying there as he overhears doctors telling Terry that, she had some complications in her surgery. And that she lost her sight. But there are cases where it could return within a matter of hours. There are cases where it may take longer than that, but there's still hope. And I just don't understand how scoliosis surgery led to that, but whatever. This is what they're telling us. I'm not a medical professional. I don't know anything about it. So she's crying and he's asked her, like, do you want to talk? And she's like, can you just leave me alone? But you can see while he's laying in the bed that he very much so wants to kind of be there for her and to comfort her. So we jump back to the present. It was a lot of jumping back and forth in this one, y'all. Like a lot of jumping back and forth to the point where I don't know how many pictures I'm going to take for the next one because I take more time taking pictures than I do writing the review and stuff for the show. Anyways, so we're back in the present. It has been 5 hours and Xavier wakes up. And this is when Daniel lets him know his name and that, this is his sister and his friends. So Xavier is still asking for his bag. And I'm listening to Xavier ask for his bag and offer to read to them and tell the kids that he's going to take them back to Colorado and all these things. And I just think that Xavier was a little foolish with the way that he was handling these kids, because he is over here trying to talk about reading them a story. And I'm not saying that they wouldn't love to have a moment in time where they could enjoy being kids, but these kids have bigger things to be worried about than you telling them a bedtime story. Like, they're trying to stay warm. They're trying to put food in their bellies. They've been struggling all these years, and you're trying to sell them a dream that's unfathomable for them at this point because of all they've been through. So Daniel explains, like, we were on a travel team when the world changed, and my sister went through trauma, and all of the adults are gone now. Excuse me, they have survived by staying together and kind of staying hidden. And I'm looking at them, and you could just tell that these kids have been through some things. There's one young man who Xavier acts like, why does he keep closing his eyes? And Daniel says he likes to close his eyes a lot because he doesn't want to forget what his parents look like. And it's just the things that you don't think about. Like, not only are his parents gone, but he doesn't have anything that will remind him of them. Like, he doesn't have a picture like what Xavier is carrying around of his wife and his kids. He doesn't have anything. So Xavier is like, can you all let me know where we're at? So he points on the map to Arkansas. And we know, as I said, that Link already said this is not a good place. So it's just a reminder that where they are is very, very dangerous. Now, one of the younger boys asks if he could have Xavier's coat when he dies. And I feel like that should just show you the type of mindset that they've been through, that they are plotting on this man's demise, even as they sit there and talk to him. And he ends up getting the coat. So Xavier promises that after, he finds his wife, that he'll bring the kids back to Colorado. Could be. I keep yawning. That's why I'm trying to be off camera. Um, Back to Colorado where they'll be safe. And at this point, Daniel just wonders if there really is somewhere where they could be safe. So he reads them the James and the Giant Peach story, which if you saw season 1, you know how much that means to him and his son. And Xavier, as he's finished reading, and the kids are all sleeping, hears something outside. So he steps outside to check it out. And what does he see but some random man holding a pow pow at him, wanting to know where he came from, if he's a pilot, and if he's going to take them kids. So he tells the man that he came from Colorado. Yes, he does plan on taking the kids back with him. And the man reveals that he's been tracking the kids. Y'all, it was the way that he said it and the way he was smiling. This man meant them no good. And Xavier, as you can see in his eyes, picks up on it. This look tells me all that I need to know, that he isn't about to let you take your nasty, perverted tail anywhere around those kids. Xavier knows that this man is dangerous, and he ends up fighting him to save the kids from this creepy predator. So they are tussling, they're fighting, they're hitting each other against the tree. All of this while Xavier has a messed up knee. So they're fighting, and the man ends up biting Xavier. And Xavier ends up throwing him to the ground and drowning him in a puddle of muddy, like water, muddy, shallow water at that. The kids see this, and he is, saying, "I'm so sorry, you guys. Like, he was a bad man. I'm sorry I had to do something. He was trying to hurt you." And they're walking over, and he's thinking that the kids are going to fear him. But what the kids do instead is what comes as second nature to them at this point, which is to cover the body with dirt and bury the man, as if this is a normal thing. These kids have gone through so much that they instinctively just went and started covering the man that they were told is a bad man, and give him a decent burial. So he's laying against a tree, and Daniel's little sister, who doesn't really speak, talks about how you're hurt really badly. And we look and we see that Xavier, on top of his messed up leg, the nosebleeds, the cut along his face, falling out of crashing in the plane and hanging in the tree and all that other stuff, that the man now got a wound from a knife. And we don't even know if it's a clean knife. So he passes out, and we're back in the past. So Terry is chucking jello over the curtain left and right to get his attention, and he ends up getting up and coming over to her side of the room. And she's kind of panicking because she's struggling with her prognosis, and she can't find anything. Everything she says is just dark. So she's telling him that she's looking for her water bottle and her hand cream and her tissue box and her flashcards, and she can't find any of it, and her feet are cold, and this and this and this. And he very calmly helps assist her. He asks her to please calm down, and she knocks everything off the table, which in turn makes the nurse come in there. And we see him as he arranges things back on her table for her so that she can find it easily on her tray, because she's feeling around for the shape of things as she's asking for stuff. So he made sure he put those items that she was looking for up there. Understand, this is something that he continues to do throughout her hospital stay. So we see him as he distracts her and he takes time to get to know her. We see him as he is there for her. He tells her that he will never lie to her. So she's like, okay, since you will never lie, do you think I'm going to get my sight back? And he tells her, yes, your eyesight will come back. And we see them as they embrace and hold hands, and you can feel that there is a connection there. It was a very vulnerable moment where she really, really needed him. So we jump back to the present, and Xavier wakes up in this empty room, and all his stuff is gone. And his stuff is gone, but it's okay because they left him. The only thing they left out of what he had in his bag was a sorry note and the picture of his son and his daughter. We see the panic in Xavier immediately as he starts banging on the table where they're at, trying to figure out where his stuff is. And then we are jumped back to the past again. And we see how Xavier is at the hospital, even though he's been discharged, watching her and being supportive to her. The man even falls asleep in the hospital, I guess, because the nurse tells him, like, I thought you were supposed to be gone when I was leaving yesterday, and you're still here. You need to make sure that you're elevating that knee. Sitting in this chair isn't good for that knee. This same lady, Terry, who once dismissed Xavier, is now leaning on him for companionship. She's now allowing him to be in her vicinity. And she, quite frankly, seems like she's looking for him. We see him as he sits beside her, and he's so patient and caring and kind. And it just goes to show who he is by nature. Now, as she's trying to adjust to what might be her new normal, he continues to be there, always coming in the room, always arranging things a certain way on her tray, and then talking and getting to know her. So we are back in the present, and he is grabbing his walking stick and he is dragging his leg all throughout the forest, and he makes his way back to the plane. And he is so thirsty because we see him bend down to drink water that was left from the night before from the hailstorm and the rain. But I don't know if that thing tastes good, because he made a face like it didn't taste good, which makes me wonder, like, how badly that part of things is affected. So we then see him back at the crash site, and he's looking at the plane and the wreckage, as we hear him say Terry, and he passes out yet again. At this point, this is when we see Annie. Now, Annie finds him unconscious. I don't know how she managed to do it with her pregnant tail, but she got that man, that big old man, up on this horse, even though he's like delirious and halfway like in and out, and almost passing out and hallucinating and all those other things. She got her pregnant tail and propped him up on this horse. So he's talking about Terry and how he has to get her and how he needs to go to Atlanta. And she's like, not today. And I'm just relieved because she found him. That didn't last real long. So he's talking about Terry, and she ends up taking him back to Graceland. And then we go back to the past yet again. And he comes in to do his normal routine. And she is looking at him as he's doing it. And he's opening up the blinds to let the sun in. And she says, "This is what you do?" And he's like, "Huh?" And she's like, "This is what you do. You make sure I have what I need," which is a sign that she started to regain her sight. So she looks at him and she says, "It's nice to see you again." It's the first time, though, that I think she's really seeing him, because here is this man that barely knew you, that you were roommates with, that took it upon himself, even when you were dismissing him, to get to know you. I appreciate his consistency in the way that he showed up for her. So we're back in the present. Look at how Annie got this place looking crazy. Like, Annie, I get it that it's the end of the world, but you got wax dripping all off the wall. Like, why are you doing Elvis home like that? So he's back in the present and he wakes up to Annie, who is staring at him. And he tells her that he needs to go to Atlanta. So she sees a picture of some kids and she's like, are these your kids? Are these your kids? Were they on the plane with you? And he's like, no, they weren't on the plane with me. They're back in, oh, I lost my spot. They're back in, wait. No, she asks if the kids are on a plane with him. I wrote she cleans his wounds, bandages him, asks where he came from. That's when he says that they're safe in a bunker in Colorado. We then jump again and we see Terry reaching for Xavier's face in this sunlight that ends up blinding as they share a tender kiss. It is a very beautiful moment, very, very beautiful moment. That man was with her during one of the hardest times of her life, and she barely knew him, but he made sure that she was good. And I just love, and I like seeing more of their story. And then we once again get another image of Link. Why y'all keep showing us Link like again, again, and again? We saw Link like 3 different times, and it's the same thing of him walking, which makes me wonder, is Link a good guy or not? So we go back to the present. He's telling Annie that he has to make sure that he gets to Atlanta to find Terry. And Annie tells him, no, we're not going to Atlanta. You're taking us to Colorado. And Xavier attempts to get up because he's like, no, 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 I'm not. No, no, no. He don't want to do that. Well, guess what, Xavier? Apparently, you don't have an option because Annie has handcuffed this man to the bed. And now this rescue has turned into her capturing him and holding him hostage. And I don't like it. This is the part that made me mad because after everything that this man has been through, and he has been through a lot, we're going to handcuff him to a bed and hold him at gunpoint and tell him that he has to take our pregnant tails to Colorado when you had ample opportunity to go before. But wait, you didn't want to go before. Why? Because you were pregnant? Oh, no, excuse me. You weren't pregnant. And now that you're pregnant, you want him to be raised by his pappy, who for all we know could be a bad guy, or for all we know, may have way more to do with this bunker than we understand, because there's a reason that they keep showing us him. I think that he knew something about the development of this, because like some of you guys said in the comment section, everybody is kind of intertwined. So I'm interested in seeing how this plays out. Like the video as it helps the channel. Let me know your thoughts on this. If there's something that I missed that you want to talk about, feel free to put it down below. Until next time, peace.